Okay, so this is part 2 of the cat motion, and it'd be where we're going to make it walk. So the thing is that making a blocky character walk is pretty straightforward because you just use the rotate tool to just rotate everything around, back and forth, and you can set those keyframes later on. Once you've made that motion, you can just use your move tool to move things, and that'll be all right. The problem with doing it that way with a cat character is that you have to move these guys, right? So every time that you would move them, it would set up a keyframe. So in other words, you have to keep making them move forward, 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 forward. So you have to keep making that motion every step that you take, right? Whereas blocky, you could just, set up sort of a cycle and then just keep moving those over, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, or excuse me, copy and paste. Or better yet, shift copy. There you go. Anyways, so yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to use a cat motion layer and get a walk cycle going for your character. Okay, so hopefully you've got your character and you've put the motion on it to where they're getting up or, unleaning from a car or getting up out of a bed or whatever that they're doing, right? And just like so. Okay, so far, so good. Now, back over here to my motion tab. I don't need this limb animation part, where this is the part we're just going to deal with. What I want to do is I want to go over here to the Add Layer button, holding that down, and all the way at the bottom now is the motion layer. Okay, so now you've got a new cat motion layer. It looks like my girl has just jumped out of her skin. That's just an artifact, a remnant, you see. So now it's back. So now you can see she's doing like a little dance in her chair, so to speak. So if the character had been standing when we did this, then it'd look a lot more natural. It would be correct, more or less. But the fact that that she was sitting when we started her, that's gonna change things, but that's okay because it gives us an extra little opportunity to learn a little something about this. Okay, so we've got this motion cycle going, right? She's walking away, walking away, walking away in her chair. What we do to control it is this. You go over here and you see where there's like a little paw, this cat motion editor. Go ahead and click on that. Okay, and I think I'm going to go ahead and go into my left screen here. Okay, so here, this breaks down into all kinds of various parts. So what we're going to do is we'll start with the pelvis. So you can see the pelvis group right here. I'm going to open that up, and I've got the pelvis and the legs. Opening up the legs, or excuse me, the pelvis, we've got the twist, the roll, the pitch, the lift, the push, the weight shift. But what we're really after for right now is the offset pose. The offset pose. So what we're going to do is clicking on that, we can see our different X, Y, and Z axes. We can test to see which one it's working on. So for instance, moving her forward seems to be on the Y axis. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll move her forward on the y-axis, about 76%. Who knows what yours is? Yours is going to be probably different than mine. Okay, and then here, this x-axis, this seems to be up and down. You would think that this would be on the z-axis, but well, that's why I say just try different ones to see what happens. Okay, well that's a good starting point. So you see we've already got her up and out of her chair. Okay, so now from there, how about the rotate? Let's rotate those. The hips here a little bit. And so we can see, well, that's side to side. That's not the one we want. And the Z, I think the Z is the one that we want. Let's just try the X. No, that's back and forth that way. So the Z, so we want to rotate that so she's in a more upright position. Okay, that seems to be about right-ish. Okay. And so that was the offset pose. and the offset rotate. And you can see now she's getting a little bit better. So now down here to the legs, I'm going to open that up. And we won't need to mess with the legs. What we really want are the platforms down here. So I'm going to open that up. And just like before, we have all these different things, and we'll take a look at those in a little bit. But for right now, we just want probably the rotation and the position. So let's start with the rotation. And see here, okay, that's not what we want, not on the X. How about on the Y? No, that doesn't seem to be it either. How about on the Z? Okay, the Z seems to be the one that we want. So I think what we want is we want to go ahead and get her into something that looks like a walking position. See, I've got this one flat over here and this one's at an angle here. I think that's probably about right. And then as far as, so that's the rotation, how about the position right over here? Was it the Y? No, not the Y. Was it the X? Yeah, looks like it's on the X-axis. I'm just going to bring that down right there. Okay, good enough. All right, is it looking a little bit better? Yeah, starting to. A little bit. Looks like she's going below the level. Let's bring those up a little bit then. Oh. There it is. Yeah, looks like her feet are touching the ground more or less then. Okay. The other thing is we might go ahead and straighten out her toes right now. And the toes aren't part of this. That's not part of what's getting controlled here. So that means I can just take this and rotate it probably a little bit flatter there. And a little bit flatter there. I'm not going to make it totally flat because they might be curled up just a little bit. There, that looks okay. She's walking on her toes a little bit, isn't she? So maybe I'm going to go on the rotation. Okay. And maybe right about like that, which is going to change the position. So we're going to bring it down. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Okay, and so now that I've got the platforms adjusted, I think I could go ahead and adjust this pelvis once again. So I'm going to have to go back here to the pelvis and the position and the height. There we go. We don't want to totally straighten out her legs because then it's going to have a weird sort of snap to it. Let's see how that is. That seems to be pretty smooth. Okay, good enough. Now, what about these arms? These arms are a little bit crazy. I think with the arms, we can just go ahead and rotate them down a little bit. And remember, we want things to be contrapposto. So if this leg is going forward, we want this arm to go back. So that's looking pretty good. And then maybe we'll straighten this arm out a little bit. Oh, it's on view right now. And you see, so sometimes you just want it to be on local so that it goes the way you think that it should go. Okay, so I'm straightening that arm out a little bit. I'm going to straighten out the palm a little bit. Okay, that's not too bad. And I'm going to come around and do the same thing for the other arm. So here, if this leg is going back, this arm should be going forward a bit. Okay, and then this one here as well. I think we could straighten it out a little bit like that, and a lot like that. And this palm as well. And that might be swinging a little bit more than what we want, because she's just getting up out of the chair and going to take a couple of steps. We're not going to have her walking across the room. Okay. This one, Okay, so that's pretty good as far as that goes. Now let's take a look at the front view here. And I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I will straighten her head out a little bit because we had her head rolled over or looking over to the other side a little bit. Oh, that's not going to let me do it. Remember how these bones, it let me move it? No problem, right? The head, it won't let me do it. See, because it's controlled. So let's see, we're going to go on down here. And we got the head group. So we're going to open that up and to the head and to the rotation, probably. Let's see which way. Oh, just a little bit more forward looking. Maybe a little bit less tilted, a little bit more up, something like that. Okay, and now let's take a look from the front what she's doing. Okay, so she's got a lot of wiggle in her step, right? So we can control that. That's where those other things come in. So let's start with the pelvis up here. And so we want to look at maybe the twist, the roll, the pitch. So the twist, how much those hips twist, right now at 100% scale, they're pretty twisty, right? So 50% might be all right, 30% might be all right, like for a dude, maybe 30%. For her, I'd say we'll go to 70%, okay? Now, unfortunately, this changes here. You can see the curve, but it will go back to 100% right there. Okay, so we got that, and then we'll go with the roll. We'll just do 70 on all of these. Pitch, that's good. Okay, the lift, we'll also do 70. The push, anything that's flat like that, we're just gonna leave. And the weight offset, we'll also give that 70. Okay. And the other place that we want to do it is probably in the chest. So let's take a look. We've got the spine group. Okay, let's open that up. And here's the spine. And so, in other words, the chest. And we're going to take a look at that. And so here, go 70 on the twist, on the roll, probably 70. And on the pitch, that's just flat. And on the lift, 70%. And the push is flat, and the weight shift is also flat. So we'll just leave that. Okay. Now the arms too, the arms are a little bit floppy. So what we want on that is probably, here we go, same thing, about 70%. The twist, about 70% of what it is. And cross swing, that's good. Swing, let's do that, about 70% of what it is. The offset rotation, I'll just leave that alone. And the leg weight, leg plant, okay. We'll do that, 70%. We'll just see what that does. And 70%, okay. And how about the other thing would be probably the palms. And so that would be how floppy those are. And once again, because your palms swing a little bit as you walk, we'll go with that 70%, and this one probably 70%. Okay, so now let's see that. Okay, so she's still moving, but she's not near as floppy as she was. Finally, let's go to the head. Scale that one to 70%. In fact, you know what? That one I'm going to bring down more. I'll just go back to our starting point. And here, I'm going to bring that one down to like 50%. That way she's just not bobbing that head all over the place. Okay. And the lift, 50. And the push, and the weight shift, and the, okay, the offset rotation I thought was still maybe a little bit over that way. Okay. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. Okay. Well, not bad. Not bad. We might have some area where it looks like this hand is cutting through. We could take a look at that later. It just really depends on how picky we want to get, which also depends on, well, where's our camera? What are we actually going to see? Okay, so good enough. We've got that adjusted. So now let's go to our left hand view once again. And you can see she's just walking in place, and that's all good. But now let's make her actually walk forward. Okay, so here, and we'll move this up out of the way so you can see. So now we're going to go all the way to the top here again to the globals. Okay, so I've got this globals area here, and you can see what it says is that it's walking on spot, right? So it's just staying in place as it walks. But now what we'll do is we'll make it walk on a line. You can actually put a path for it, and we'll talk about that some other time, to where, you know, if you want her walking, you know, around, up hills, down around something, whatever, you can determine the path that your character walks in. Right now it's just a straight line. You can see how it's going. Pretty good, right? Okay. Not bad, not bad at all. But wait a minute, Mr. Coon. We have that, but we had her sitting in the chair. How do I go from making her sit in the chair to standing up like this and walking? Okay, let's work on that a little bit. I think I can close this down. So, cat animation layers. You can weight the different layers and you can animate them. So let's do this. We're going to go over here to the auto key, and right now this cat animation layer is at 100%, and or the motion layer I should say, and also the animation layer is as well. Now the only thing that's really screwy is that everything else that I've ever seen shows the thing that you see is on top. Well, this one for some reason has it underneath. The thing that's on the bottom is the thing that you're going to see. That's just weird, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the amount of this layer, the amount that we see of it. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, what it means is this, is that here in the global weights, I'm going to take this down to 0 right here. I've got my slider all the way over here at the end, and I'm going to take that down to 0. Okay, so she's sitting in the chair. Okay, so then she's getting up, and that's it, right? We don't see anything else. So we need to make the global weight go back to 100 so we can see her walking. So remember, by keeping things even, I can remember and know where things are at. So she was fully standing up. I had her at 75 frames. So that's the time when I could maybe begin making her transition into that walk stage. So I think at, let's say, yeah, at 75 frames, I want to set that at 0 again. I want another keyframe. So what I'll do is my old trick of just doing a little jig jog right here. So jig jog, right, back to 0. Okay. And then, but then by about, let's say, 75, 85, we'll give ourselves just a little bit of room to play with. So by 95, that was 75, 85, 95, that's 20 frames. So less than a second. I'm going to set that back up to 100. Okay, wow, but look at, it's really traveled pretty far in that time, so that's not going to work out very well. So let's do this. What we're going to do is go back to this right here, the Cat Motion Editor, and we're going to change, back here to the global weights, we're going to change the start of our animation, move it over a little bit. So how about we start it at about, so that she's fully standing up at 75. That seems like a good place to start it then. Okay, so at 75 frames is where we'll start. Okay, let's see what difference that makes. All right, so she's going, and you can see at 75 is where she starts to move. Now that's not too bad right there. You could be done maybe at that point. But if we take a closer look, she goes, and then she has a little bit of an ice skating effect right there as she gets started. I think that we can do it just a little bit better. So far what we've done is we've only worked with the global weights. What we can also do is work on the local weights. So in other words, the global weights put a keyframe here basically for everything in the skeleton. What we could do is we could pick just part of the skeleton. So let's say, for instance, we start on that leg that's up front, the yellow one, right? So let's go ahead and select that. Okay. And once again, I'm going to roll that up. And here at 75, right, let's roll this up a little bit here. This global weight, or this local weight, is at 100. So I'm going to set this down to 0. All right. And back here, I'm also going to set this one down to 0 just to keep it clean. So that's 0, 0, 0. It's not doing anything special. And then at about 75, you'll see that it's still at 0, right? Because we haven't changed it. So now what I have to do is determine, okay, you see how it's stretching out there? So what did we do the other one? At the other one, we had it at 90. We had it at 100. Well, I thought we did. There it is right there. Let's go. Oh, it was 95. That's right. So let's see what happens if we adjust that. So let's see. Somewhere around there. So at 90, did that help or hurt? Okay, I think we didn't go quite enough. So here's 75, right? It's at 0. And we want it to be, here's at, let's say 85. We want it to be still back a little bit further, right? So I'm going to lower this local weight, and you see how that's bringing that foot back a little bit more to how it was. Okay, still a little bit ice skatey, you know, and it just really depends on how much do you want to screw around with this thing? How much time do you want to spend? Okay, so here it is, and it's going up, up, up. Okay, so somewhere, where did that 73 kick in? There it is. Let's bring that up to 100% at that point. Yeah, not bad. A little bit ice skatey, but not as bad as it was. Let's see here. Right about maybe here. Bring it back just a little bit. Okay. Anyways, in this tutorial, I don't want to waste your time just having me fiddle back and forth. And once again, look, maybe you don't even see her feet, right? So it's not going to be that big of a deal if it's slightly ice skatey, right? So not too bad. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. I'll go back, I'll turn off my auto key, and I'm going to go back to my perspective view here, and I think I'll make the bones disappear. So I'm going to go to the pelvis, and I'm going to select the children. I'm also going to expand the selection so I can get to everything, and I'm going to turn all those off, right? And then at the same time though, I am going to turn these ones all at the head back on. So down here and on, and that's good. And then the body, that was still Alt-X'd, so we'll click on the body here, Alt-X, and is she back? Yeah, looks like she's all back to normal. Let's see what it looked like. Okay, all the way back to the beginning, and she gets up, and then she starts walking. like I say, is a little ice skatey, that one first step. That's the kind of thing you might want to mess with or might not. So I want to check. Yeah, I'm at full speed. Okay. All right, not too bad. So I think the next thing that we'll do is not only will we have her walk, we're going to have her stop and turn. So that way you can go, that's really pretty much the holy grail. That's everything, right? Just from one position to a walk to a final position, right? And that's plenty enough to get you through a scene. Okay, well, good luck with that. And I think the best thing to do too is save different versions, right? So as you're working on something, save it. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Save As, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in my H drive, my student drive, and in my scenes, and I'm going to save it as just the same as before. Let's see, paste. We've got, my last name, my first name, my project 4B, cat, motion, but now on top of that motion, I'm going to put walking, right? And I'm just going to say save, and yes, that's overwriting the existing one that I had already made. All good. Okay, so in the next one, we'll just make her turn around, and then I'm even looking forward to showing you how to get those cameras doing some new things. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.